This girl is on fire. Except the girl is our planet and it's at risk of being struck by literal fire from the sun. Suddenly not vibing to Alicia Keys, are we? Scientists claim to have developed an early warning system for solar flares to alert people of potentially hazardous space weather. The first forecasts of weather in space are being produced by orbiting observatories. Let's find out what to say. First up, it's sunny with a chance of slight flares. Solar flares that are ejected from the sun by the magnetic field can make up a fury of solar storms. When a flare hits Earth, it can have a significant impact by disrupting electricity grids, radio communications, and satellites, among other things. Experts have repeatedly warned that a massive solar storm might have devastating repercussions and that we actually might not be prepared to face them. You see, scientists closely monitor the sun and forecast space weather in the same way they do weather on Earth to help understand and lessen the effects of any such storms. Why do we need forecasts in space? Well, an accurate space forecast will impact everything from air travel to power grids and help in expanding the fleet of satellites. Since the sun's magnetic field is something of a mystery, it makes it difficult to forecast how it could behave or how things will turn out in space, which is a huge problem we currently face. To help with that, scientists have developed a new technology that's capable of detecting a solar flare a whole 2 days in advance. The technology makes use of neural networks, which are computer programs designed to function similarly to the human brain, to find features that might indicate a solar flare is approaching. The approach performs far better than currently available techniques that try to predict the sun's behavior. So, how worried should we be about solar storms? It's no surprise that we're becoming more and more dependent on technology. The issue is that this technology is susceptible to bad weather in space, such as solar flares, solar wind, and coronal mass ejections, in which the sun releases enormous amounts of magnetically charged particles. We know that solar flares are massive energy explosions that the sun releases. These powerful radiation bursts can cause blackouts and interfere with satellites in a matter of minutes, reaching temperatures of millions of degrees. A solar storm in 1989 caused Quebec's electricity network's circuit breakers to trip, resulting in a 9-hour blackout, and in 2003, we faced a similar issue in South Africa. To prevent these incidents from happening in the future, researchers are currently working on technologies that will forecast these events and help us in taking measures to lessen their impact. Solar flares reach the corona. No, not the one you're thinking. We're talking about the sun's outermost layer, where rarefied gas exists that reaches temperatures of up to 100 million degrees. Before this technology, we couldn't accurately predict when these flares would occur, as they're based on the solar cycle, an 11-year calendar of the sun's activity. Now, you might be wondering, why are solar flares happening all of a sudden? Blame it on huge plasma clouds that can be launched into space by powerful solar flares. When a coronal mass ejection hits the Earth, it can trigger geomagnetic storms and powerful aurora. While radio blackouts can be briefly caused by medium-sized M-class flares, they're extremely unusual and only happen with some of the largest X-class flares. These geomagnetic storms don't just cause blackouts, they can harm electrical devices, astronauts, or passengers in high-flying aircraft as well. Magnetic field lines from sunspots that are the darker, cooler regions of the sun tangle and erupt to produce solar flares. They can still be very hot and reach 1,800 degrees Celsius despite being the cooler section of the sun. The solar atmosphere's built-up magnetic energy is abruptly unleashed and spread across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Now that they've returned to the origin of the problem, solar astronomers are working to forecast solar explosions by observing changes in the sun's magnetic field or the expansion of active spots on the Earth's invisible side. This endeavor is being continued by space scientists who are researching the crucial connections and dynamic interactions between the sun and the Earth and considering them as one integrated system. Under the International Solar Terrestrial Physics Program, several spacecrafts are making coordinated, simultaneous measurements of the sun, the solar wind, and the Earth's magnetosphere, offering a novel global perspective of the complex connection between the sun and Earth. For the first time ever, we can now follow the path of potentially harmful events from where they originate on the sun to where they end up on Earth. By the way, there's one headed towards us. In the coming days, a rapidly expanding sunspot that is directly pointed at Earth and is growing swiftly has been discovered by scientists. A few days ago, the sunspot, known as AR 3085 for the active region of the sun where it first emerged, was hardly noticeable. According to reports, it is now multiplied 10 times and changed into 2 sunspots that are approximately the same size as the Earth. This This little clip depicts the spot's development over the course of 2 days. A number of solar flares have been spotted crackling surrounding the spot, according to sources. Fortunately, they're all currently classified as C-class flares, the weakest of the 3 solar flare classes that are tracked by government satellites. The spots could produce greater flares that could hurtle toward Earth if they continue to grow during the next few days, damaging satellites and communication infrastructure. But for the time being, there's no immediate threat. Over the past few years, solar activity has increased, and since spring 2022, a number of X-class flares have swooped over our planet, sometimes days apart. As we get closer to the next solar maximum, there will probably be more sunspots and solar flares. And now, in other news. First up, this telescope has just found a planet beyond our solar system. The most powerful telescope in the world has made its first views of a planet outside of our solar system, launching a new age of astronomy in which faraway worlds can be examined for indications of life. Isn't that exciting? The data from NASA's James Webb Space Telescope provides us fresh information about how the planet WASP-39b, a hot gas giant 700 light-years away in the Virgo constellation, formed. They also offered the first unambiguous proof of carbon dioxide in a planet's atmosphere that is orbiting a far-off star. James Webb's primary objective is to examine the atmospheres of far-off planets and look for biosignature gases that might point to the existence of life. In 2011, astronomers saw a modest, repeated dimming of the host star's light that they believed was the result of the planet transiting in front of it. Data collected by Hubble and Spitzer also pointed towards the presence of CO2 in that region, but the most recent observations provide the first definitive proof. WASP-39b is not thought to be a very viable contender for life, though. The massive gas planet has an average temperature of about 900 Celsius and is roughly 1.3 times larger than Jupiter. Next, an unknown mini-moon has also been discovered. A stony object orbiting a tiny asteroid close to Jupiter may be a previously unidentified mini-moon in the solar system. If the rocky satellite, which is a little broader than Manhattan, is determined to be a real moon, it will rank among the smallest moons ever discovered. The satellite was discovered by scientists working on NASA's Lucy mission, which is sending a space probe to investigate 2 enormous groups of space rocks called the Trojan asteroids. The 17-mile-wide Polymele is separated from the recently discovered satellite, which has a diameter of around 3 miles, by a path of almost 125 miles. The distance between Polymele and Earth at the time of the observation was about 480 million miles. The orbital path of Polymele's satellite is still unknown because the researchers were only able to conduct brief observations, and because of that, the space rock has yet to get a formal name or be certified as a moon. You're all welcome to send in suggestions, though. And lastly, NASA recorded sounds from the black hole, and they're quite creepy. NASA has picked up on some eerie sounds in a black hole 250 million light-years away. The acoustic waves are emanating from a black hole at the heart of the Perseus cluster of galaxies. In order for the sound to be audible to human ears, it had to be transposed up to 57 and 58 octaves. If we're being completely honest, the outcome that NASA revealed in May sounds not only frightening, but also rather angry. This is the first time that the sound waves have been isolated and amplified. What is happening on this recording then? Even though we can't hear sound in space, there is still sound there. The method has scientific relevance, in addition to being a fun new way to experience cosmic occurrences when visual data like these are converted into sound. Transforming a data set occasionally reveals information that was previously buried, enabling more thorough research into the mysterious and enormous universe that surrounds us. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think the early warning system will prove to be effective against deadly solar flares? Let us know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.